It's funny because I saw that question. My wife and I were kind of talking about it, and I said to her, when I started teaching, never in my mind would I have anticipated teaching this many years. I looked at some of those people that have been teaching 35 and 40 and thinking, why? Why are you doing that? I remember I had a friend in college, and when I made the decision, I think I started out in secondary, but I ended up in elementary. And I remember he sent me a letter during the summer, and he said, do you really think you're going to get the respect of anybody if you're an elementary school teacher? And I just looked at that and I thought, wow, that was really a kind of a harsh thing to say, and not really the way it is. But I think that's probably what a lot of males do look at is, am I going to get respect? Am I going to get prestige to doing that? There's so many ways to give back. And I think, sometimes young people tend to look at what can I get out of life? It's time to start looking at what can I give back? Our young people so much need young males, young females who are willing to share the gospel. And I started, I don't know how many years ago it was, maybe 6 or 7, with a group of people, former students and some former colleagues, texting them on Sundays and saying, hey, do you have any prayer requests? And then pray for them each week. And that list has grown now. And it's a great way to stay connected to people, because then I hear what's going on in their life. And I think, I've always said with people, if you have a relationship with somebody, but all you can talk about is the past, that relationship is never going to grow. And so for me, for these relationships to continue to grow, I have to know where they're at now, what they're doing now, what are their concerns and worries now. Some of the kids that I grew closest to were the ones that were the most struggle in the classroom. Every kid is going to learn differently, as all 3 of my own children learn differently. That's something that I think is you have to have as a teacher. You have to be able to find that good in each kid, and I think kids have taught me that they don't all have to follow a cookie cutter mold of this. I have learned a lot about not to react to what kids do, but to react to why kids do what they do. And I think that's, if you can take the time to step back and look at why people do, there's usually an underlying reason. And those kids that have those whys, that are pretty deep whys for why they do the things they do, need that much more time. They need that much more forgiveness. And as a forgiven Christian myself, I need to provide that same forgiveness. I think probably the one thing that has stayed consistent from day one of my teaching to the last day of year 35 was the fact that I can share my faith in a completely comfortable setting. I think their issues have gotten bigger and bigger, but the fact that I'm allowed to pull on my faith and use, Christ's example in their life to help lead them on the path, pull up Bible verses, pull up, experiences from my own life. Life is never going to be easy. Life is always going to be a challenge. But to be surrounded by friends and colleagues and students who share a common faith makes that path so much easier. And I've told my students this any number of times. I said, teaching is hard work. And if I did not love it, I would not do it, because that's the kind of person that I am. I'm going to do what I love doing. I've told this to kids all the way through, especially in my theater program, that if I'm not making relationships with people, then what I'm doing is really not worth it at all. And I think any other job would have taken me away from that relationship with kids. I'm living my dream right now. I am teaching algebra and I'm doing theater all the time. The theater has been my passion forever. And to be able to do that on almost a full-time basis and give kids opportunities is amazing. So I think it's a profession that we need those people so desperately, so that your children and my grandchildren can have experiences similar to what I had as a child.